Okay, so this is collard greens 101. You purchase the collards and you want to make sure that you don't have any really light greens in them, because that'll give you a bitter taste to your collard greens once cooked. You want to look through them, make sure there aren't any bruising, purple tinges that indicates frostbite, any serious animal eating, little dots like this here, black, you can just tear that out. No need to waste a whole leaf over something so tiny. You want to remove the stalk from the leaf, and some people actually crack the leaves away and remove the stalk or the ribbing, depending on what term you use, all the way from the green, like so. Okay, so now we have all the stalks removed from the leaf. See? Well, this one's still a little bit. We can just continue on. Remove that. And you want to lay them down. Largest leaf of your bunch down first, because it'll hold everything else together. And we're going to do a chiffonade, or roll and slice, as I was told at 15. We lay them like so. And you want to save some of the larger leaves for the rest of your rolls, because you want a nice size roll that you can manage and roll up nice and tight without it splitting and breaking on you. Okay? It's about good enough to start. Once you get used to doing this, you can roll it up, and if it splits, it splits, and you know how to work it. But for right now, this size roll, well, let's add maybe one more. Size roll is good enough. So you roll nice and tight, like jelly roll. See how it splits because you removed the ribbing? Okay? The larger the stack, the more difficult it becomes to roll. Okay? You can also tuck under. Take a knife, sharp knife. I'm using a serrated knife, bread knife. It's extremely sharp, and that'll minimize on the bruising. If you don't have a serrated knife, you can always use a regular knife, but you want to make sure it's extremely sharp. I wouldn't recommend you use scissors or kitchen shears, because then you'd get stuck having to do a much smaller bundle, and it makes no sense. Just use a knife and go one way direction. Slice about 1/4 of an inch rounds. Okay, and then you're left with these little ribbons of collard greens. Okay, and you want to put these to the side. I use the big old kitchen strainer for now until I can get them into the sink for washing. Okay, we'll do that one more time. Large leaf, down, pile them up. Also, to help on the splitting, you can also reverse them, which is probably best. I should have mentioned that before. See? So your splitting is kept nice and neat inside. Put the smaller leaves in the middle. Just back and forth until you have them all laid out and ready to go. Right? Okay. Roll. Tight. Down. Slice. One direction. Honestly, your slices can be as big as you like. Once again, the premise is to have melt in your mouth collard greens. The smaller the slice, the faster they cook, the more melt in your mouth they become. Collard greens are not like spinach. They will take a long time to cook. Time to wash your collard greens. You want to clean out your sink. Have everything nice and clean and dried, and make sure everything's been sanitized well. You put your ribbons from your strainer into your sink. Make sure everything's nice and loose. You don't want anything too stuck together, because then whatever sand and grit is on the greens, they'll just stay on the greens, no matter how much you try to rinse and clean them off. This is technically the most difficult part of it, is cleaning the greens. That includes the de-ribbing and slicing and rinsing and stuff. And when I was coming up and I was first taught how to do this, I was told you have to clean them really well, and they're going to take at least half an hour in the water, and it makes some people, quite frankly, afraid of attempting collard greens. And it's just not true. I was taught to start with slicing them first to make it easier. Some of my friends and coworkers and people that I've talked to have told me that they clean them first, they clean and wash them first, and then they slice them. And I think that's just backwards, because it just takes too long. You have this large leaf, and you're constantly rinsing them. Either you're using a large sink in the kitchen, or if you're doing huge batches, you take them into your tub, and trust me, they take them into their bathtub and they wash them, and that's ludicrous for me. Anyway, so I have them all loose and trying to detangle them as best as possible, and I start filling my sink with regular old tap water. And I have this handy dandy little gooseneck thing. I don't even know if that's what you would call it, but my faucet extends and I can do this, and this is so much easier. But growing up, I didn't have this, and I still did it the same way, and just fill up the sink with the ice cold water. What's going to happen is that the grit is going to sink to the bottom, and your greens are going to float. So you can just shake them up and loosen all that. Collard greens are a lot less gritty than what they used to be 10 years ago. Shoot, they're a lot less gritty than what they used to be 5 years ago. So it's become a lot easier to clean them. But you still want to make sure you don't skip this step, because no matter how clean a green looks, there's something there. The sand is very fine, and even though you probably can't feel it or you can't see it, you will, and this is a definite, you will taste it. Now, I was also taught to add some salt to this water. The premise was that the salt would adhere to the grits, and it would help clean the greens, make the cleaning of the greens a whole lot easier. Once again, maybe it's just me, I find that to be a falsehood. There's no way. Because then I can't tell what's grit and what's salt, because I use kosher salt, and it's not going to automatically dissolve in this ice cold water. And as I'm cleaning, I'm feeling. The collard greens have been sitting in your water now 5 minutes. All the grit has sunk to the bottom of the sink. Your greens have floated above the grits. So you gently use your fingers to scoop up your greens. And you see how much easier this little contraption I have going makes it. Water collects in the bowl underneath the strainer. And that's it, really. Remember, no salt No salt in your cleaning water because you won't be able to tell what's salt and what's grit. You want to know that those rocks you're feeling is sand, not undissolved grit, because then you'll be sitting here washing for days. Okay, now I have to get back to the rest of them because I have 2 more packages to destalk and slice up and wash, and I hope this has demystified the difficulty in collard greens as far as prepping them is concerned, because the more difficult part, people, is just watching the pot boil for at least an hour and smelling the greens and not being able to eat the greens. Nope. When that step starts in a few days, I'll see if I can show you how that goes, and I'll post that as soon as possible.